any rule in the House. May we just confirm that we have the requisite number? We do have the number of the members on the platform, and therefore we do pass. Rule 89 states that no member may reflect upon the merits of any matter on which a judicial decision is pending. The rationale for this rule is that Parliament should not be seen to be seeking to influence the administration of justice. With respect to this matter, I must again stress that the matter before the House today is whether to proceed with an inquiry or not. It is not to pronounce on the validity of the relevant rules or determine whether the public protector should be removed. In this regard, I would caution members from reflecting on the merits of the arguments before the court. We are dealing with correspondence in this regard. Honourable members, having clarified this process, we can now proceed. The Secretary will read the order.
Consideration of the recommendations of the independent panel established in terms of Rule 129U to conduct a preliminary assessment on a motion from Ms. N.W.A. Mazon to initiate an inquiry in terms of Section 194(1) of the Constitution 1996 for the removal of Advocate Mkhwebane from office of the Public Protector on grounds of misconduct and/or incompetence.
Thank you. I shall now recognize political parties wishing to make a declaration. The usual time are allocated to parties. The DA?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, fellow members of Parliament. I stand to support the fact that Parliament sit and approve the fact that we have a panel to do this specific investigation. As the Speaker has explained, it is the first time and it's the first nature that we will have such an investigation and such a panel into a Chapter 9, ahead of a Chapter 9 institution. It is important for us to remember that South Africans look to us and to our Chapter 9 institutions to maintain the security and the sovereignty and the respect that our Constitution and our Bill of Rights have, and therefore it was by order of the court that rules were established which we followed as members of Parliament to make sure that any motion that came before the House would be just and would be done in the correct fashion. We have now had a panel of who I think, and I'm sure many would agree, are three of the finest legal brains in our country, agree that there is prima facie evidence which require this panel to sit. I've had the privilege of sitting on a panel where South Africans stood together for the betterment of South Africa and put political ideologies aside. And I know what can be achieved when we sit as South Africans and not as various political parties for the betterment of South Africa. I therefore stand to rise in favour of the panel being established, and I would like to thank the Speaker and I would like to thank the staff and the legal services of Parliament for making sure that we followed the letter of the law, crossed every T, dotted every I, and that we have done everything absolutely correctly. Let us safeguard our Constitution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Before I call the next party, I am advised that the Honourable Sheikh Imam's hand is up. Is it a point of order, Honourable Imam Sheikh? Is it a hand by mistake? Thank you.
No, Honourable Speaker, my hand was up that I would like to also speak on this matter, but since you're giving turns, I should not have done that. Thank you.
Yes, no, your turn will come. I proceed to invite the EFF.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, we must state from the onset that we oppose to the adoption of the recommendations of the independent panel appointed by you to conduct the preliminary assessment on the need to the removal of the public protector. We do this from a legal principle point of view. This House had never had rules to give effect to a Section 194 of the Constitution on the removal from office of the heads of Agenda 9 institutions. These rules were developed in 2019 only after the DA, backed by his allies in the ANC, tabled the motion to remove the public protector from office. As a general rule, our law does not apply retrospectively. Our law is forward-thinking. On what basis in law, therefore, would a person be tried under rules or regulations that were adopted after the fact? The principle was emphasized by the Chief Justice at the National Council of Provinces at the beginning of this term, when some opportunistic DA members opposed to the swearing-in of Honorable Kenny Motsamai on basis that he had served time in prison. Chief Justice stated clearly that the Constitution was adopted in 1996 and would therefore hold no bearing on matters happened before its adoption. These rules, which enabled the appointment of the independent panel, were therefore made with the public protector in mind. The end goal was created a watertight method to remove the public protector from office, and no one else. The last time this House made laws targeting a specific individual was when the apartheid government enacted the Sobukwe Clause that keep Robert Sobukwe imprisoned indefinitely because they feared him so much. What is it that this regime feared the public protector so much? Pushing through this process will give credence to widely held views that the process have nothing to do with the grounds for the removal of the protector as listed in the Constitution, but everything to do with using these institutions of state, including Parliament, to remove someone who is not flexible politically by manipulation and by the President and his backers. Allowing this process to continue will not merely be a procedural matter, but it will substantively give the President powers to remove the public protector immediately. Section 194, subsection A of the Constitution gives the President powers to suspend the public protector from office at any given time after commencement of the committee proceedings of a committee established by the National Assembly for her removal from office. This is what those that are persecuting the public protector want. They want her gone as a matter of urgency. And this is what we would not be, this is what we enable if we will allow this process to continue. This, without a doubt, is unconstitutional persecution of a black woman whose only sin was to demand accountability from the poster boy of white monopoly capital. Parliament is to embark on shameful illegal process to remove a head of an institution supporting democracy and will not allow this to happen. If this motion passes, we'll immediately approach the courts to stop this process from taking any shape or form and expose the ANC who are complacent in illegal in persecuting the public protector. Even name was Matthias van Schalkwyk of Groenewald or Mazoni, the process would have been different. But because her name and her skin is black, now all of a sudden rules and an independent panel must be established because she is black. We will take you to court. I thank you. Will object.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your objection is noted. The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. At the outset, let me say that we as a Parliament and a House cannot preempt any decision that the President of the country may take or make that he is constitutionally empowered to take. Having said that, Honourable Speaker, on behalf of the IFP, I would like to thank you for managing the process on the appointment of the independent panel, and more importantly, for consulting leaders of the political parties when that panel was appointed. Coming to the report, we feel that the following points in limine must be given due consideration. The first, Honourable Speaker, is that of due and fair process. And the second, just as importantly, that of the audi alteram partem rule. Advocate Mkwebane must be provided with fair opportunity to substantively respond to the allegations that have been raised against her, as would be accorded the head of any Chapter 9 institution or any person for that matter, as enshrined in our Constitution. The sterling work of this independent panel must be commended. The thoroughness of the preliminary assessment and the recommendations suggested is testament to the legal brains that its ranks comprise. The allegations remain of a prima facie nature until tested, and of course, subject to due process, which, as I stated before, includes the principle of audi alteram partem. The IFP supports the recommendation that this inquiry now move on to the next stage, namely the establishment of a parliamentary committee, which will further interrogate the findings and that will present its own findings and recommendations to the House. The IFP trusts that the members of this House will execute their mandate to exercise oversight, to support and protect the Constitution, and be guided by the rule of law in ensuring that those that occupy such critical offices do so competently. Further, the IFP would lament if in this process we are hampered by politics trumping procedure. Honourable Speaker, the IFP respects the ruling of our judiciary, even the one this morning by the Constitutional Court, and trusts that the process that we believe must commence will be transparent and carried out in an expeditious but considered manner so as not to hamper the work of the Public Protector's Office and that of this Parliament. We support the report, but we also say that we need to protect the integrity of the office of the Public Protector, and the person of the Public Protector must be upheld until proven otherwise. And we look forward to the constitution of this multi-party committee that will take this matter further. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Freedom Front Plus.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Speaker, there comes a time when we as members of Parliament should elevate ourselves above party politics. This is such a time. We are dealing with a very, very serious matter, let there be no doubt. The provision in the Constitution that provides that a person in public office in terms of Chapter 9 can be removed is nothing new. It was put into the Constitution in 1996. It deals completely with it in Section 194 of the Constitution. The only thing that happened was now that it expects of us that there should be rules how we implement that provision in the Constitution. Those rules were adopted. They are part and parcel, and that's not the problem. So, in terms of those rules, a certain process started. A motion was drawn up. It was found to be in order. The Public Protector had the opportunity to express herself. She was listened to. A panel was established. The panel did what it needed to do, and it brought out a report. And today we are dealing with the recommendations of that report. Now, if you look at the position of the Public Protector, it's one of the most important offices in our constitutional dispensation. It's very, very important. The Public Protector plays a specific role that needs to be played in terms of protecting the public, in terms of keeping the executive to account. That's the role of the Public Protector. The previous Public Protector set a very high bar, and we all should strive to that kind of excellence. Now, what the panel did was, they went into what is needed in terms of the provisions of Section 194, and the section clearly states that the Public Protector can only be removed on 3 grounds. That's the only way that a Public Protector can be removed. On the ground of misconduct, incapacity, or incompetence. That's what the Constitution clearly states. And then it gives out and sets out the procedure that needs to be followed once we get to that point. So in terms of the rules, all the necessary processes were taken up to this point, and correctly so. And now we are at the position and at the point where we need to look into the recommendations and the findings of the independent panel. And what does the findings say? In terms of incompetence, they went completely into the essence of that, and the panel came to the following finding. It says, in summary, in respect of the charge of incompetence, the panel finds that there is substantial information that constitutes prima facie evidence of incompetence. That's a fact. When it comes to misconduct, the panel comes to agreement again, and it says, in summary, in respect of the charge of misconduct, the panel finds that there is sufficient information that constitutes prima facie evidence of misconduct. You cannot ask for anything more clear than that. It's absolutely crystal clear what the panel found, And it's now up to Parliament to play our role in upholding the Constitution that we all feel so strongly about. We need now to appoint a committee in terms of the rules of the National Assembly to take this process further, and the Freedom Front Plus will definitely support that, and we ask all members to do the same. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. The ACDP.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, the ACDP believes that if one treats the leadership of the Chapter 9 institutions with the same constitutionally inspired deference that is accorded to judges, it behoves that leadership to behave accordingly. When there's misconduct, incapacity or incompetence in evidence, then special provisions as set out in Section 194 come into play. And the 17-step process set out in the rules is designed to protect the dignity and effectiveness of the very Chapter 9 institutions. Today's consideration of the report is part of that process. As the Speaker has indicated, we are not voting today on whether the Public Protector is guilty of misconduct or incompetence. What we are doing today is exercising a quasi-judicial function to consider a preliminary report of the independent panel as to whether an inquiry should take place. It is that later inquiry that will determine whether the Public Protector is guilty of misconduct or incompetence. And it is crucial to note that the panel need only establish a prima facie case to answer of misconduct or incompetence to warrant it recommending a later inquiry. Now, the legal threshold for prima facie evidence is not very high. It's similar to a public prosecutor considering whether there's a prima facie evidence to prosecute a case. In this case, it is the court at a later stage that decides on the version of guilty or not. So when we vote today on whether or not to refer the matter to the committee, we should set aside our political views and vote in the same manner that judges do when they make decisions, when they consider on this basis of prima facie evidence. Impartiality, independence and objectivity should be brought to bear with a view to acting rationally when we so vote. If the decision is to be purely political, then the elaborate efforts, costs, processes and procedures would definitely be superfluous. Politics should not trump procedure, as the Honourable Singh has said. In this regard, the panel makes it very clear its findings on the prima facie evidence of incompetence that stretched over 3 years, as well as that relating to misconduct. The issue of retrospectivity is also dealt with in the report and found to have no legal basis. Now, as a result of the conclusive prima facie evidence contained in the report, the ACDP believes that the report should be referred to a committee for a formal inquiry to be held. Any other decision would, in our view, be a miscarriage of justice. We'd like to thank the Honourable Speaker for this process and support the report. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The UDM.
Madam Speaker and honourable members, the UDM objects to the recommendations of the independent panel. We acknowledge the importance of Section 194 of the Constitution. However, in this case of the incumbent public protector, Advocate Mkhwebane, regulations or rules were specifically drafted for her with retrospective effect. The public protector complained long time ago about the lack of funding to hire competent staff, to no avail, as we all know. The UDM strongly believes that if there is anyone that should be removed from office, it is the current ANC executive members who are acting there as gatekeepers, with billions of rands going to private hands and their friends. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. The ATM.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. ATM reiterates its position that the discussion of the independent panel report must be suspended. Further to the letter dated 14 March 2021, addressed to the Speaker of National Assembly, Honorable Modise, where the ATM is cautioning the Speaker not to flout Rule 89 of the National Assembly rules. The ATM reiterates its position that Parliament is risking becoming a constitutional delinquent by embarking on matters that are pending before the courts of the law. The recent constitutional ruling denying the PP direct access is really hollow victory to those who can't wait to remove Advocate Mkhwebane. This is because the merits of Part A application are ripe to be taken to the Supreme Court of Appeal, whilst the SCA paperwork is being worked. The Western Cape High Court application is set down for 7 to 11 June 2021, meaning referring the matter to a subcommittee is still ultra viral because Rule 89 of the National Assembly rules prohibits discussion matters that are sub judice. The decision of the Supreme Court of Appeal and Western Cape High Court cannot be lawfully preempted by Parliament without offending the separation of powers doctrine, hence Rule 89. What purpose would it serve to refer the matter to a portfolio committee when that committee is restrained by Rule 89 to discuss the merits which are pending in court? ATM demands that the Honourable Speaker withdraws and suspends any discussions on the independent panel report until the courts have pronounced themselves on the legitimacy of the process. I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good.
Mandla.
Good.
Go ahead, two.
Good. Honorable members, the opportunity is given to the party Good. Is Good there? They are not there. The NFP?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, the NFP has a concern in terms of whether we are acting within the law. Taking into consideration the fact that there is a matter pending before the court, which is only expected to be heard sometimes in June or July this year. Having said that, you know, it is not unusual, even though in terms of the report we have with the panel and the prima facie evidence they appear to have found, we must also be mindful that often matters, judgments that have been given are upheld by other courts, and some of them have been set aside. So when we go into a committee of this nature, we need to go with an open mind, because my problem, Honourable Speaker, is that a committee is going to be put in place, and my concern, however, is the objectivity of the members that's going to serve on this committee, because some of them have gone publicly and made pronouncements on their views on this issue. And so I'm concerned that it might lack objectivity, because those that want the public protector out are going to go there and do what they have to do to get the public protector and vice versa. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, Honourable Speaker. However, the National Freedom Party is of the view that if we are acting constitutionally correct and a committee needs to be put in place, and provided we can ensure that committee is made up of independent, objective members who do not have any hidden agendas in this particular issue, then yes, indeed, it will go a long way to giving the public protector also an opportunity to come before this committee and make a presentation, and we interrogate the report and be able to get an opportunity to, of course, question the public protector and come to a decision whether indeed there has been sufficient grounds to declare that the public protector has the misconduct and incompetence as alluded to by this particular committee. So the National Freedom Party will support a committee to be put in place. But however, our concerns are the independence and objectivity of members on that committee, so that the public protector is given an opportunity to present her side of the case. And the concern is if the matter then goes to court again, based on the objectivity of members that are on that committee and the fact that they've made pronouncements before, is that also not going to be a problem? That is the view of the National Freedom Party, so we will support the establishment of a committee on those bases. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The AIC. The AIC, we pass. Cope.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. For us to address the matter before us properly, we must do what South Africans who sent us here to do. That means following the Constitution and putting our personal emotions aside. If we go to Section 182, 1 to 5, namely the functions of the public protector, it gives the country pure clarity on what the public protector must do, namely investigate, then investigate and report to the country what she has found from her investigations. We have, however, allowed ourselves and the country to be divided by what I will call intra-organizational leadership challenges of one organization. I urge the South Africans.
Honorable Makosini, you are disturbing us. Please put off your gadget, your camera, so that we can proceed with the business here. There is a speaker on the podium. Please continue that.
Thank you. I urge all South Africans through this parliament, of course, to check what the public protector must do if she finds wrongdoings as directed by the constitutional obligations in Chapter 9, 182. I ask those South Africans who say Thuli Madonsela was wrong to have emerged with what she found out through her investigations, which have led to the establishment of the Zondo Commission, can today rise and say Thuli Madonsela should have been removed for having identified wrongdoings.
Honorable member of the ATM, Mahau, please put your camera and your mic off. You are disturbing us. Proceed, Ndade.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about this.
No problem. Was she, I'm referring to Madonsela, was she wrong when she identified, for example, that President Zuma did whatever he did, and that has led us to having the Zondo Commission? The present public protector investigated the Reserve Bank and ABSA. Was she wrong to do that? Did she act in bad faith when she positively identified that 1.3 billion rand had disappeared and two judges, namely Heath and Davis, were wrong in affirming her truths? Was she wrong when, in line with the Constitution, she investigated and found out that President Ramaphosa, Minister Gordon, Minister Nkwindi, Mr. McBride, Baloyi SMSs, Bosasa accusations against President Ramaphosa, her investigations on PRASA, is that wrong? Are we saying that the courts must not be respected and the Audi Altram Partem rule must not be considered? What we must do is accept the report, but not remove the public protector till all the truths are found and her incapacity proven. The committee must still go on, and South Africans must follow the truth. A lot is still there. Thank you.
The PAC. The PAC. Abeko. Al-Jama.
Speaker, the horse has now bolted in defiance of the orders of the Secretary General of the governing party. The country needs stability, and this is not helping. The inquiry must not proceed. Constitutional democracy will be harmed if access to justice outside our courts is not available that is free and quick and without the time-consuming and high costs that the judiciary opposes on the street. One cannot expect the high standards of our courts to apply in matters determined by the public protector. That is why there's an easy appeal process to the High Court. With respect to the independent panel recommendations, in terms of the high standards normally expected of legal eagles and not people in the street, for which we have put in place an officer of public protector. This is also the case with commissioners in the CCMA. Here there is no easy access to the high courts for judgments. So through the public protector, Parliament opens its doors to the streets. The last people that should rule our legal eagles, especially the best in the country, this is a street matter. And the street has spoken through the voice of the Secretary General of the governing party. Al-Jamal cannot support this report. The public protector must serve a full term. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, sir. The ANC. The ANC.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, Parliament, as I've said earlier, is governed by its own rules, which are in line with the Constitution of the Republic. Hence, we have the NA Rules Committee, the NCOP Rules Committee, the Joint Rules Committee, and subcommittees on rules, which process the amendment, the review, and the establishment of the rules which govern both houses. It's a pity, though, Honourable Speaker,
point of order,
that in the fifth Parliament.
Please hold. Honourable Ndlozi, you keep on interjecting, and it is not to call a point of order.
Yes, it's a point of order, Speaker.
Is it a point of order now? If it is a point of order, I will hear you.
Earlier, but you did not recognize me.
No, you didn't call for a point of order. You say you are calling it for it now. You have the floor. I will hear you. Proceed.
Well, Speaker, I'm calling a point of order on a procedural allocation of the list of speakers today. This is the ANC speaking last, because that's today. What is this supposed to mean? Is this their motion?
Honourable Ndlozi, I actually have no point to rule on. Your point of order is not sustained. Deputy Chief, will you please proceed?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, it is a pity, though, that in the fifth term of Parliament, Parliament was directed by the Constitutional Court in a case of the EFF, DA, and others to establish rules in line with Section 89 of the Constitution. It is in this vein that Parliament took upon itself to ensure that it establishes rules for the removal of all individuals appointed through the processes of Parliament, so that they are given an opportunity to appear before the committee which will be conducting the inquiry, for them to be able to clear themselves and also make a representation. In this regard, Honourable Speaker, Parliament established the rules on Section 194, and those rules were adopted on the 28th of November 2019. Those rules were approved and adopted by all parties in the House, and also supported by all members of the National Assembly. And the rules were 80 seats for the regulation of the removal of heads of Chapter 9 institutions. Honourable Speaker, due processes was followed, where the Speaker consulted all parties represented in Parliament for the appointment of the independent panel. That panel was appointed by the Speaker to assess the merits and demerits of the motion that was presented was submitted to the Speaker with all the supporting information by the DA Chief Whip, Honorable Mazoni. So the panel completed its work. They submitted the report to the Speaker, who then scheduled the report of the panel, of the independent panel, for today, for the House to decide on it. Once the House have decided on that report, whether it refers it to a committee based on the section 194 of the Constitution, that committee will be a multi-party committee which will deal with the independent panel's report. After that, it is during that inquiry of that committee where the public protector will be given an opportunity to appear before the committee to make her own representation. Honorable Speaker, as the ANC, we are mindful of the fact that we are dealing with a matter of public interest. And as public reps, we must at all times be seen to be processing matters of public interest. With this understanding, Honorable Speaker, the ANC supports the motion to establish that section 194 multi-party committee which will deal with this matter, and also which will afford the public protector an opportunity to make a representation, because it is not fair that the public protector is seen is walking around with this dark cloud hanging on her head. She must make a representation to the committee. Then the report of the committee will therefore be presented to the House for a decision. Today we are dealing with the report of the high-level panel, not the process of the inquiry. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I now put the question, and it is...
Speaker, on a point of order, I had raised my hand and you have not noticed.
My apologies, I did. I just saw a note that you raised your hand. Is it a point of order, Honorable Shibambo?
Yes, Speaker, from a procedural point of view, we want to advise that we should not proceed with this vote because the report which is being discussed now has concluded that the public protector is guilty. What I'm going to investigate and deal with when the report which we are saying we must approve here is not a process report. It's a judgment which says that we have weighed the capacity of the public protector, capacity, and we have found her guilty. And therefore, Parliament must go and discuss the guiltiness of the protector. That is already not a point of guiding process. It is unconstitutional what you are doing because already
Honorable Shibambo, this is not a point
that has been set to deal with this issue. Why are you insisting on voting on an issue which
this is not a point of order. I am ruling on you because this is not a point of order. You cannot come into this debate by stealth. The EFF
it's a question to you, Speaker, that you can't vote on
you are
this
out of order.
It's not constitutional. It's against the rules of Parliament.
Take your seat or I will put off that mic because this is not a point of order at all.
Speaker.
Honorable Malema, you are on a point of order?
Speaker, on a point of order.
Yes, you are on a point of order. I recognize that.
Speaker, when you started, you said a sub judice matter is a matter that is awaiting a judgment of the court. And I don't agree with that, because once a matter is before the court and a date has been set, that's sub judice, because it's not like a criminal case. It's a different case altogether, where parties have to exchange and the arrangement must be made, and a court date has been set on this matter. And therefore, to get us to engage on a matter that the court is going to be hearing is to set up this parliament. Please, I appeal to you to be patient.
You are taking me right back to where Honorable Shibambu was. I must rule against you. Honorable members, I now give to Honorable Singh. Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable. Point of order. We as Parliament have been the subject of court rulings before, where they have indicated to the House that we have made an incorrect ruling. And I think those of us who participated in this debate and will vote the way we do will accept the findings of a court. We need to proceed. The debate has been concluded, and we need to proceed what we normally do in terms of our rules and put the report to the House. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I proceed, honorable members?
But on a point of order, Chair, on a point of order, that honorable was talking on which point?
Honorable Malema, on the same point you were speaking on, I would want to proceed with this matter. I will now, therefore, put the question. Are there any objections to the recommendations made by the independent panel that the Assembly proceed to conduct an inquiry into the public protector on specific grounds? Will you please shut up that mic of the Honorable Zungula? Will you please close that mic of Honorable Siwela? Are there any objections?
We object.
Absolutely.
We object, Speaker.
We object, Speaker.
Objection of the EFF.
Honorable Speaker.
Can I?
We all object.
No. The objection of the EFF, of the ATM, of Al-Jama, of the UDM are noted. Honorable Mazoni, why are you up?
Honourable Speaker, given that there are objections, I wonder if I could please ask you to call a division on this matter.
Honorable Mazoni, are you opposing?
Point of order.
Honourable Speaker, I'm not opposing, but I think that given the fact that there are opposing views, that we should call a division on this matter, given the importance of a Chapter 9 institution.
I'm advised that people who call for a division are the people who oppose, who object.
Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Shibambu, are you calling for a division?
Yeah, let's deal. Yeah, we're calling for division. Like, let's vote on this, but we are restating the fact that.
Thank you very much. A division has been called for. The bells will be rung for 10 minutes.
Calling for division. Let's go. Want to see this sellouts who are conniving with whites too.
But check.
left with 7 now. 7. We left with 7 now. Okay, just
Thank you, honorable members. Please take your seats. A division having been called, the bells having been rung, we are all back in order. Honorable Lewis, can you please take your seat? Are you still counting yourself? Please take your seats. Honorable members, we determined that in accordance with the rules, a manual voting procedure will be used for this division. Firstly, in order to establish a quorum, I would request the table to confirm that we have the requisite numbers of members physically present in the chamber and on the virtual platform. You will mute all the mics for now. We do have a quorum. Thank you very much. Party whips say that will confirm the votes of the parties, and they will indicate whether they are voting for or against. A member who wishes to abstain or vote against a party vote may do so by informing the chair. We have now confirmed that we have that quorum. The voting will now commence. The doors to the chamber will be locked, and members will not be allowed to enter the virtual platform until voting is concluded. Whips. Okay. I now want to...
Speaker, my apologies. On a point of order.
Yes, sir.
I have members that are having difficulty to connect, and that was prior to the doors being closed. Mr. Wainthring, for example. I wonder if we can just check from IT's perspective. Thank you.
The bells were rung. If I make that concession, I will have to break it every time. So I must apologize that...
I understand, Speaker, but this was prior to that, but thank you. I understand.
Yes, please. I do understand that. Honourable members, I now...
On a point of order, Speaker.
We are voting. Honourable members, I am not taking any interjections. We are now voting. I now put the question. And the question is that...
Why, on a point of order, Speaker?
No, Honourable Malema, we are now voting. We are now voting.
Speaker?
Honourable Malema, we are now voting. I am not taking any interjections, any whatever. The Honourable Swart raised a point of members. Unfortunately, we will not open up the system for anybody. The doors will not be opened in this chamber for anybody. We are now voting.
But on a point of order, Speaker, you have allowed Honourable...
We are now voting, ma'am. Please take your seat.
No, but you don't even know what is the Honourable Malema's point of order.
What?
And you're already comprehending what he's going to say. He's allowed to make a point of order.
Is it about voting?
Yes, you want to make a point of order.
You listened to Swart. You listened to Swart.
About voting.
Yes. Please.
You have the floor, ma'am. What about voting?
Honourable Malema will raise the point of order. He was the one that raised on a point of order. You will raise it. Please allow my member to raise the point
Honourable
of order.
Malema, is it about voting? Is that about voting, Honourable Malema? We proceed, Honourable members. Party whips, the question has been...
Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Malema, you were given a chance. You did not respond.
It's not about voting. It's not about voting, Speaker. Please allow the President to.
Honourable members, may I
Speaker.
May I read Rule 116? It is about points of orders during the division. Subject to all other rules relating to the taking of points of orders, while a division is in progress, members may only raise points of order directly related to the procedures during the division. I put the question to Honorable Malema again. Is it about the voting? Is it about the procedure of voting?
It's about the voting.
Please address the House.
Honorable Speaker, you said you have closed the doors.
Yes.
But members of the ANC keep on leaving, and when they leave, it's written here, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma left. How do you deal with that aspect? Because it's going to affect the quorum of the House. Because when the doors are closed, it means no one should now leave. You can't go in, you can't go out.
Honorable Malema, the honorable member you refer to is on a virtual platform. That honorable Malema, that member, if she
I'm
has
giving an example.
You are giving an example. I am saying that honorable member who chose to leave will not come back and vote, and therefore there will be no contamination of the votes by people who were not here. Rather, it will be a minus vote for whoever. So, can we proceed? Can I have the numbers?
But when they are leaving, Speaker, do you have a quorum now? That is the question that the President is raising.
We do have a quorum, ma'am.
So do you have a quorum to proceed now, Speaker?
Honorable Mkalipe, we have a quorum. Can we now get the vote?
According to the rules, Speaker, according to the rules, no one can go in.
Honorable Zungula, you called for a division. Honorable members, no. You called for a division. You now have a division. We want to proceed to vote. Allow this House to vote and exercise that right that you called to exercise.
Speaker, tell the nation how many members are here in the platform, in the visual platform.
Do you want the actual
and how many
numbers?
members are there physically, so we can know, because many members have.
Give me the numbers. Honorable members, you are on the virtual platform. You can see the numbers on the virtual platform. Honorable members who are in the House, when you give
Speaker, the numbers in the platform also include
Honorable Zungula's mic will be switched off now. Honorable members, the numbers in the House, as you give me your numbers of your members, you will give me the numbers in the House and on the virtual platform. We start now. ANC.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the ANC on the visual platform is 132. Physical here in the NA chamber is 36, totaling up to 168. We support the process. Thank you.
The DA.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the House, the DA has 28 members. On the virtual platform, the DA has 55 members. That gives us a total of 83 members voting in favour of the process.
Thank you. The EFF?
No, thanks, Speaker. The Economic Freedom Fighters, who have got 29 on the virtual platform and 8 in the chamber, were voting against this unconstitutional and unlawful process.
What is your total? The IFP?
29 is 37.
It is 37, sir. The IFP?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We have 9 on the virtual platform, 1 in the House, 10 voting in favour. Thank you.
The Freedom Front Plus?
Honourable Speaker, we have 6 on the virtual platform, 4 on the total of 10 voting in favour. Thank you.
Thank you. The ACDP.
Thank you, Speaker. 1 on virtual, 1 in the House in support. Thank you.
Thank you. The UDM. The UDM. The UDM, may I pass?
The UDM is voting against the Speaker.
No, you are not a member of the UDM. The UDM will speak for itself.
No, because I know what they stand for. They are principled.
The ATM.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. We are 2 on the virtual. We are voting against the decision.
Thank you very much. Good.
Thank you, Chairperson. We are 2 on the virtual platform and we are voting in favor. Thank you.
The NFP. The NFP. The NFP is not voting. The AIC. The AIC. COPE. Can I have some peace, please, between the ANC and the EFF in the House? COPE.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. COPE is 1 in the House and abstains.
COPE abstains. Thank you very much. Honourable members. Honourable members. You're not doing this House's decorum any favor, honestly. Can we go to the PAC? The PAC? It's gone. Al-Jama.
Honourable Speaker, Al-Jama is 1 on the virtual platform and we vote against.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any member that wishes to abstain or to vote differently from their party? None? The voting session is now closed. Honourable members, order. Order. The result of the division is as follows. The Ayes, 275. The Noes, 40. And we have 1 abstention. The question is therefore accordingly agreed to. Honorable members.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Singh.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
The GA leads, the ANC follows.
I raised my hands.
Honorable members,
Speaker, so may I
there
proceed?
is a member on the floor. Honorable Singh, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to rise on a point of order, and I would like you to investigate this matter after you are satisfied or not, either, and give a ruling either today or later. When the division was called for, Honorable Malema said, and this is something that one needs to check on the Hansard, I want to see those organizations conniving with the whites. Now, I submit, Honorable Speaker, that that is unparliamentary, and I would like you to investigate that matter and give us a ruling in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Singh. That matter will be investigated. We will come back to the House.
On a point of order, Speaker.
Is that a point of
order? On a point of order.
Honorable Ndlozi, is that a point of order? On the matter we have just discussed.
Speaker.
Yes, please, proceed. Proceed.
Speaker, a point of order has to be called on or during when the articulation is being made. You can't call a point of order 5 weeks after the incident you are referring to has happened, or 5 years after the incident has happened. And I know that you, together with the honorable member that has just called the point of order, you both know that you cannot sustain this point of order. Otherwise, the House will be rendered extremely useless, because then next week I'm going to bring a point of order from the 5th Parliament. What are you going to do?
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Ndlozi.
Investigate.
Honorable Ndlozi, please
it is white
spare
people
us.
who said to us that they are white. What's wrong with that?
Honorable Ndlozi, I have ruled on this matter. Honorable members, in terms of Section 190...
It's a wrong ruling. Why don't
Honorable
you take advice?
Ndlozi, your mic is off. In terms of Section 194 of the Constitution, read with Rule 129Z, the report of the independent panel will now be referred to a committee for a formal inquiry. We now come to the next item, and that next item is on motions without notice. Does any member of the ANC wish to give a notice of a motion without a notice?
Thank you very much, Speaker. The African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes with sadness the tragic passing of Mthokozisi Ntumba, who was shot and killed during the Wits University student protest on Wednesday, the 10th of March, 2021, recognizes that the 35-year-old Ntumba was shot returning from his doctor's consultation in Braamfontein when the police fired bullets to disperse protesting students, welcomes the arrest of 4 police officers from the Public Order Policing Unit last week in connection with the killing of Mr. Ntumba, understands that they will appear in court on Wednesday, the 17th of March, facing charges of murder, attempted murder, and defeating the ends of justice. Calls for the investigation of the shooting of a Commerce Faculty woman student from the University of Johannesburg during the student protest in Braamfontein on the 15th of March 2021, and thus calls for the further training on protest management in a democratic South Africa for police by the Safety and Security Sector Education and Training Authority, and extends our sympathies to the family and friends of Mr. Ntumba, as well as the university community and the country at large. Thank you, Speaker.
Honourable members, if there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The Democratic Alliance?
Thank you. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that Mr. Themba Babumba and Mr. Dean Elgar were appointed as the new full-time captains of the Proteas cricket team on Thursday, the 4th of March. Further notes that Mr. Babumba will take over the leadership of the one-day international and T20 sides, which will include the next 3 T20 World Cups, and that Mr. Elgar will lead the team in the next cycle of the ICC World Test Championship as the new Test captain. Recalls that Mr. Bavuma spent his career breaking new ground, becoming the first black specialist batsman for the country and the first black batsman from South Africa to score a Test century, and recognizes that his historic appointment as the first black captain for the Proteas should come as no surprise. Acknowledges that Mr. Bavuma has said that captaining the Proteas has been his dream for many years and that he is honored to accept this responsibility and looks forward to this new challenge. Further acknowledges that Mr. Elgar similarly has said that captaining the Proteas, specifically the Test side, which he regards as the pinnacle of cricket, is the biggest highlight of his career and is grateful for the opportunity to represent South Africa in this capacity. Calls on the federations and administrators of all sport codes in the Republic to shift their focus away from boardroom disputes and continue to pursue projects and transformation agendas that will benefit the development of sport and ensure equal opportunity for all players who wish to represent their country on the international stage. Congratulates Mr. Bavuma and Mr. Elgar and wish them success in their new roles. I so move.
Honourable members, if there are no objections, I put the motion. Do we have an objection, Honourable Member?
I don't, House Chairperson, I just wish to inform the House that that was the Honourable Engelbrecht's maiden speech to the House today.
Welcome, Honourable Member. And may I also just remind the Honourable Member that there is a specific time limit when introducing your motions without notice. I've given you a few seconds because you are new. I won't be so generous in the future. There's no objections. The motion is agreed to. The EFF?
I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters for this House to join the masses of our people in South Africa, the African continent and the diaspora in wishing the President and Commander-in-Chief of the economic freedom fighters who celebrated his 40th birthday on the 3rd of March. To recognize that the generation of economic freedom fighters is blessed to be led by President Julius Malema. To acknowledge that he has lived his life for the humanity, dignity, and economic liberation of black people, and through his leadership, he has ensured the revival of continuation of the radical black.
This one is singing for his supper.
Wish him that a long life of committed to the attainment of economic freedom fighters in his lifetime. Pambili President Julius Malema, I so moved.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. Order, Honourable Members. Order. The ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. The ANC moves without notice that the House notes with sadness the passing of Ingonyama of Amazulu, His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini Kabhekuzulu, on the early hours of Friday, the 12th of March 2021. Further notes that His Majesty had been in hospital for weeks for what was initially reported to be a problem with the King's blood glucose levels. Remembers Isilo Samabandla as the longest-serving monarch of the Zulu Kingdom, with a reign spanning over 5 decades. Further remembers that as the constitutional monarch of the Zulu Kingdom, Hlangalo Hlabati was the head of Ubukhosi. The state recognizes institution of traditional leaders that consist of Amakhosi. Further remembers that Isilo's leadership role also entailed chairmanship of the Usutu Tribal Authority and Nongoma Regional Authority, both established under the provisions of KwaZulu-Natal Amakhosi and Isiphakanyiswa Act, and conveys condolences to the royal family of Ingonyam and the entire Zulu kingdom. Wena wendlovu.
Honourable members, if there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The IFP.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I move that the House notes that the World Consumer Rights Day is observed in every year since 1983 on the 15th of March with the aim to raise global awareness about consumer rights and needs. But further notes that the theme for 2021 is tackle plastic pollution in light of the fact that plastic pollution is one of the most pressing issues facing our planet. Also acknowledges that consumer awareness of plastic crisis is growing around the world and that consumers have a critical role in shaping the marketplace therefore should be aware of their rights. Welcomes local initiatives like EnviroBody, designed to remove plastic and microplastic from South African beaches, where South Africans are taking a hands-on and a practical approach to the plastic population crisis. Calls on all South Africans to support local supermarkets by recycling the plastic shopping bags, as well as on the government and all stakeholders to support consumers and to mobilize business in order to ensure that sustainable consumption is accessible to all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The Freedom Front Plus.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, I move without notice on behalf of the FF Plus that the House notes that the South African documentary My Octopus Teacher, which centers around award-winning South African filmmaker Craig Foster, who develops a friendship with a curious octopus while diving in the Atlantic Ocean, has been chosen as one of the 5 nominees for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Film. Further notes that its directors, Pippa Ehrlich and James Reed, have both been nominated for a Directors Guild of America Award at this year's 73rd DGA Awards. Notes that My Octopus Teacher also won, amongst others, 2 awards at the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards in November 2020, being the only film to win more than 1 trophy, winning in the categories for Best Science or Nature Documentary and Best Cinematography. Also notes that the film was nominated for a British Academy of Film and Television Arts or BAFTA Award in the Best Documentary Feature category, still to be awarded. Resolves to congratulate the directors, producers and all involved in the making of this film on the awards and nominations it has won and gained thus far, and wishes them luck with their Oscar and other nominations. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The ANC moves without notice that the House congratulates Dr. Motsepe Patrice for his election as President of the Confederation of African Football on Friday, 12 March 2021 in Rabat, Morocco. Notes that he contested the CAF presidency elections unopposed following the withdrawal of his 3 West African rivals, as well as the Court of Arbitration's ruling on the incumbent Ahmad, who intended to run for re-election. Remembers that the president of Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club launched his action plan a week ago at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg. Understands that he is the first president of CAF from the English-speaking countries on the continent since the body was founded in 1957. Supports his dream to develop the African football and make it the best in the world. Congratulate Dr. Motsepe on his historic election and wishes him well in his new position. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. On behalf of the ACDP, I move without notice that the House notes with sadness the passing of Faranaz Mentor from Strand in the Western Cape, who was brutally murdered on the 26th of February. Further notes that the 31-year-old mother was assaulted along with 2 other young women in a Wendy house. Remembers that Faranaz was a bright spark, a young woman who will now never have the opportunity to develop to a full potential. We extend our deepest condolences to the Mentua family and those close to Faranaz. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The UDM, the ATM, the DA.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes with deep sadness the passing of Mr. Irvin De Silva on Saturday, 6 February 2021 as a result of a tragic car accident. Further notes that Mr. De Silva, a former Springbok player, was a well-known and revered resident of George who made significant contributions on so many fronts to the community of Pacalsdorp and George as a whole. Recalls that Mr. De Silva was also a former employee of George Municipality for a considerable number of years, and at the time of his passing, at the mature age of 69 years, he was an active member of the Pacalsdorp Community Policing Forum and the Pacalsdorp Neighborhood Watch. Highlights that Mr. De Silva will also be remembered for his love and passion for rugby, cricket, farming, and rearing animals. Acknowledges that Mr. De Silva is survived by his wife for 45 years, Ms. Ivy De Silva, his children, as well as his grandchildren. Conveys its heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Mr. De Silva and the community of George, more especially the community of Pacalsdorp. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The EFF.
Thank you, Chairperson. I rise on behalf of the EFF to move without notice that the House notes that Saturday, the 6th of March, marked 64 years since Ghana gained her independence from the tentacles of British colonial control. Further notes that the independence of Ghana, then known as the Gold Coast, was the first African country to be free from the direct colonial control, and that this illuminated the flames of freedom across the continent of Africa and inspired many oppressed people to rise up to demand their own emancipation. Acknowledges that the leadership of the independence movement in Ghana and Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in particular were convinced that the independence of Ghana meant nothing until all of Africa was free from colonial control. Further acknowledges that in their constitution, Ghana made it clear that the country was prepared to collapse its sovereignty in pursuit of the goal of a union of African states government. This they did because they were convinced that Africa can only be truly free when united under the banner of one federal state with a centrally planned economy, a single defense force, and a coordinated approach to foreign policy. Accepts that 64 years after Ghana gained its independence, Africa is still under vicious neo-colonial control, trapped in debt, and with policies dictated to the continent from elsewhere. Further accepts that the only way to break this vicious system of neo-colonial control is to unite the continent from Cape to Cairo, Madagascar to Morocco. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Chairperson, please note the objection of the EFF+.
There's an objection, thus the motion without notice will be converted to a motion. The ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. The Chief Whip of the Majority Party moves without notice that the House knows that Mbizana local municipality in the Eastern Cape has been officially renamed after the struggle icon Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela to honor her for her part in the struggle against the oppressive apartheid regime. Acknowledges that the Provincial Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC gazetted the name change on Thursday, 4th March 2021, following a consultation process and approval by the community. Recalls that Mama Winifred Nomzamo Madikizela Mandela was born at Mbongweni village in Mbizana on 26 September 1936. Recognizes that Mbizana will officially be renamed after Winnie Winnie Madikizela Mandela on the 1st of April 2021 acknowledges that the proposal to rename the municipality after its most famous daughter was first made in 2018 and commends the municipality for the gesture to rename them after the daughter of the soil to keep her legacy alive. Thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. Good.
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of Good that this House recognize our prison wardens across the country who daily face difficulties putting their lives in danger, not only through the nature of their work, but also their health as COVID grappled the world. That they have been at high risk of contracting COVID working in confined spaces within our prisons. Our prison wardens daily have to leave work and interact with their families, further putting their households in danger. They have been the forgotten ones, earning little reward, many unseen for their commitment to keep us protected. We salute them and honor their bravery towards duty in our country. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The NFP.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move on behalf of the National Freedom Party that this House notes that the 1st of March is a very significant day in the lives of the Khoi and San people, the first indigenous people of South Africa. Further notes that on the 1st of March 1510, 511 years ago, the Khoi defeated the Portuguese sailors when 12 of them attempted to steal cattle belonging to the Khoi from one of their villages. Also notes that this resulted in 150 Portuguese men armed with swords, lances and crossbows taking revenge on the Khoi and San, with approximately 170 Khoi warriors fighting back with stone spears, fire-hardened assegais with iron tips, defeating the Portuguese sailors, resulting in 64 of their invaders, including their leader, Francisco de Almeida, the Portuguese Viceroy of India, and 11 of his captains being killed. Also notes that the Khoi and San will be launching the first Khoi and San Cultural Center in Fishhook on the False Bay on Friday, the 19th of March, 2021. Wherefore, we call upon this Honorable House to congratulate and commend the Khoi and San people for successfully defending its people, its property and its cattle from the Portuguese enemy, and also call on this House to congratulate the Khoi and San for launching such a well-deserved and long overdue cultural center. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, the African National Congress moved without motion, without notice, that the House congratulates the Pan-African Bar Association of South Africa, PAPASA, on the election of a new National Executive Committee with Advocate Nazrin Rajab Padlenda as its chairperson. Notes that the PAPASA held a successful second annual general meeting on 11 October 2020. Welcomes with appreciation the election of a capable woman to the senior position of chairperson and acknowledges this as a progressive move which contributes to transformation of legal profession in South Africa. Congratulates the entire newly elected NEC and appreciates the balanced gender representation. Expresses appreciation to the inaugural chairperson, Advocate Moses Kakane, Senior Counsel, and the rest of his team for the sterling work done in PAPASA's first year of existence and for the successful pupillage program conducted by the Pius Langa School of Advocacy, and wishes Advocate Rajab Padlenda and the NEC of PAPASA a successful term. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The AIC. COPE. The ANC.
Honourable Wilman Yehudrukin. The African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes that Human Rights Day is a national day that is commemorated annually on 21st of March to remind South Africans about the sacrifices that accompanied the struggle for the attainment of democracy in South Africa. further notes that on this day in 1960, police opened fire and killed 69 people at a peaceful anti-pass laws demonstration in Sharpeville. Recalls that the Democratic government declared March 21 as Human Rights Day to commemorate and honor those who fought for our liberation and the rights we enjoy today. Believes that the commemoration provides the country with an opportunity to reflect on progress made in the promotion and protection of human rights, and calls upon all South Africans to take responsibility to ensure that our human rights record and history are preserved and strengthened for future generations. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The DA.
Huisvoorsitter, ek gee hiermee kennis namens die Demokratiese Alliansie dat hierdie huis kennis neem dat die hoërskool Karkams in die Namakwa distrik in die Noord-Kaap 90% slaagsyfer vir die nasionale senior sertifikaat eksamens aan die einde van die 2020 akademiese jaar behaal het. Besef dat hoërskool Karkams as die beste akademiese skool van die Noord-Kaapse kwantiel 1 tot 3 skole in die 2020 akademiese jaar uitgewys is. Verder kennis neem dat die graad 12 leerders en opvoeders van hoërskool Karkams hierdie prestasies ten spyte van die vele uitdagings vir die skool en die gemeenskap in die gesig staar behaal het. Verder besef dat hoërskool Karkams die 2021 akademiese jaar sonder 'n fisiese wetenskap opvoeder begin het, weens die feit dat die leerdergetalle onvoldoende is om vir 'n permanente departementele opvoedersposisie te kwalifiseer, en weens die onvermoë van die gemeenskap wat deur armoede en werkloosheid gekenmerk word om die aanstelling van 'n opvoeder te borg. Die leerders en opvoeders hiermee hartlik gelukwens met hulle prestasies en die skoolhoof, meneer Van die Kerk en sy span nog baie meer sukses toewens vir die toekoms. Ek stel so voor.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The PAC. Al-Jama.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. Honourable House Chair, the Al-Jama political party moves without notice that the House notes the sudden passing of Professor Ibrahim Arnold of the Bull-Kaap. Recognize him as an esteemed chartered accountant for more than 40 years. He served as Chief Executive at the International Peace College of South Africa, the premium higher education institute of the Muslim community. Further acknowledges his position as Vice Dean of Prince Sultan College for Business in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Also notes that he practiced good governance with the financial affairs in many Muslim organizations by setting high standards to avoid corruption and looting of public funds. Recalls that he was founder member of the Muslim Students Association, whose graduates are now rooted in most of the Muslim community organizations serving good causes. Extends condolences to the family, friends, and community. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The ANC.
The ANC moves without notice that the House notes that Mrs. Nontu Mugabe, a long-distance runner, helped raise more than 1.5 million rand to refurbish a badly dilapidated school and provide hundreds of learners with school uniforms. Further notes that she was the first to become prominent last year when she ran the 7th marathon in 7 days in all 7 continents. We further understand that Mugabe hails from a village of Mseleni, and she first became aware of the situation at Kipinkunzi when she was approached by a feeding scheme, the Southern Lodesta Foundation, to assist. Further understand that it's a registered psychologist and a human resource at Richards Bay Coal Terminal. We further acknowledge that she intends running the marathon, the Stables, in October 2021, where she will undertake a 251-kilometer ultramarathon in the Sahara Desert to raise funds to provide flush toilets for Kipinkunzi Primary School, and further extends its gratitude to Mrs. Ngambi for her gracious and unwavering compassion, and wishes her well in all her endeavors.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. That concludes motions without notice. The last item on the order paper is notices of motion. Does any member of the ANC wish to give a notice of motion?
House Chair, I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates using the African Continental Free Trade Agreement to build partnerships, especially in sub-Saharan Africa.
The DA?
As chairperson, I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting in this House, we debate the enrollment and funding disparities at higher education institutions. I so move.
The EFF?
Thank you, House Chair. As EFF, I move that this House debate on feeding scheme at schools in townships and rural areas must be provided by local small businesses with immediate effect at administrative areas to feed their local schools as they have full capacity to do so, than giving this opportunity to ANC friends and families of ministers through tender system and buying to European racist shops and supermarkets. To eliminate the viral scourge of poverty out there. I thank you.
The ANC? The ANC?
Thank you very much. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next meeting, its next sitting, the House debate assessing foster care progress, implementation and progress in providing for all families whose children cannot live with their own parents. I thank you.
The IFP?
On behalf of the IFP, I shall move that this House debates the continued demonstration at universities and TVET colleges during registration. I thank you.
The FF Plus?
Achtbare huisvoorsitter, ek gee hiermee kennis van 'n mosie dat met 'n volgende sitting van die huis ek namens die 4+ sal voorstel dat die huis die volgende debatteer: dat daar ongelyke erkenning vir gelyke werk tussen universiteite en private instellings vir hoër onderwys is en wel deur die bepaling dat private instellings vir hoër onderwys nie toegelaat word om na hulle self as universiteite te verwys of om die status van professor aan verdienstelike akademici toe te ken en die gevolglike voortsetting van 'n eindelose krisis in universiteitsstudie in Suid-Afrika daardeur voortgesit word. Boonop dat die aksies van gemeenskappe om hulle self deur universiteitsonderrig te bemagtig daardeur gekneelter word. Ek stel so voor.
The ANC?
I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates the investment in green and sustainable solutions that offers us opportunities to promote our long-term economic competitiveness and climate resilience. I so move.
The ACDP?
Thank you, House Chair. I will move on behalf of the ACDP at the next sitting of the House that the House debates the usage of ivermectin in public and private hospitals as part of the treatment of COVID-19 patients. Thank you.
The UDM? The ATM? The DA?
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the implication of the 172,787 case backlog in the processing of DNA samples by the South African Police Services Forensic Science Laboratories, leaving victims and families of victims of serious crime with little hope that justice will ever be served. I so move.
The EFF.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, that the EFF in the next House sitting, that we debate the shortage of GBV shelters, the shortage of shelters for homeless people, and also the shortage for disabled children ECD facilities. Thank you.
The ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates monitoring the participation of South Africa in multilateral forums related to foreign policy.
Good. The NFP.
Thank you, House Chairman. On behalf of the National Freedom Party, I move that at its next sitting, this House deliberates on evictions in a democratic South Africa in the absence of suitable and habitable housing for all as enshrined in the Constitution. I so move.
The ANC.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates the increasing investment needed to attract, train, deploy psychologists, social workers, counselors, and mentors to support the most vulnerable groups to be better able to become self-confident and critical citizens of this country. Thank you very much.
The AIC. Go. The ANC.
Thank you. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting of the House debates, social cohesion as a critical element in our attempt at minimizing the country, uniting the country, deepening our democracy and making it safer for all who live in it, especially in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. I so move.
The DA.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House in its next sitting debates the undue delay caused by the Department of Military Veterans to roll out services and benefits, including military health services, education support, housing, military pensions, job placement, and burial support to the military veterans and their dependents. I so move.
The PAC. Al-Jama.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. I move on behalf of Al-Jama. Parliament must give orders to municipalities not to promote gentrification to keep blacks out of the city close to central business districts like in Cape Town. The City and Western Cape provincial government has embarked on subtle attempts to keep historically disadvantaged people out of the city and has a political agenda of gentrification. The city and the WCP do not believe that an inhumane deed of forcibly removing historical disadvantaged people of the inner city should be redressed. The recent argument of the City of Cape Town's legal representative that the city does not have an obligation to correct apartheid spatial planning that may be determined by the courts raises much concern.
The ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates integrating a broader economic recovery plan with what we need to do to achieve a sustainable economy and future. Thank you.
Honourable members, that concludes notices of motion and the business for the day. The House is adjourned.
Long live the chair. Long live